The section that I will be covering from the political dynamics of American education is Chapter 12, Court Functions Amid Change. The way that we will be examining this section is through the lens of the judicial system as a tool for educational policy innovation. As we have been discussing over the past few weeks, the federal and state governments are playing an increased role in our local schools. Their increased involvement is debatable in terms of the various benefits or damages that impact the schools. One of the mobilization factors for this closer relationship is the decisions that are being made from the judicial branch. As we learned in our previous chapter, various stakeholders and interest groups play an active role in introducing policy. These similar groups also play an important role with turning to the courts for a resolution when they're frustrated by school policies that do not reflect their values. Because we live in a democratic system, there is opportunity for these policies to be challenged in court. Our discussion today will cover 3 instances illustrated by Kirst where there is an opportunity for policy innovation to take place. I like to refer to these instances as the window of opportunity. We will also discuss the different functions that the court uses to implement policy innovation, and then we will conclude our discussion with differences between the traditional litigation and reform litigation. Our democratic system allows stakeholders in education to challenge policies that are in conflict to their values. According to Kirst, the opportunity to change decisions are limited. However, they do exist. In order to do so, these events must take place. The proposed change is accepted or favored by the majority of the justices. The national majority is in agreement, and the courts from other areas of government are not negatively impacted by the change. While it is important for understanding these areas of opportunity, it is also important to understand the external factors that are driving the window of opportunity. Once a justice is chosen to sit in the court, it is important to understand the political partisanship that the justice may hold and also take into consideration the justice's values, religion, education, and past decisions. When looking at the concept of having the national majority in agreement, it is important to understand the various value conflicts that the court is being introduced to. In essence, the role of the court is to legitimize or delegitimize these values and then allocate these resources to implement these values. Lastly, consideration must be given as to how a change in policy will affect the other courts in government. The window of opportunity exists when there is minimal or no negative impact. Now we are going to break into groups and discuss the following question. Describe the windows of opportunity and the external factors that existed in order for policy innovation to occur. You will have 10 minutes to speak in your groups, and then a representative from your group will share with the class. Now we are going to move on to the judicial functions in school policy. The 2 areas discussed in the book that related to the judicial system and policy innovation are legalization and regulation. Within the realm of legalization exist 2 concepts, substantive rights and due process in schooling. Substantive rights are related to unfair allocation of resources which result in a student being educationally disadvantaged. Due process in schooling is related to students' rights and serves as a protection for students in regards to how policies are made. Regulation involves rules or laws that describe how something should be done. They are useful in enforcing decisions that are not readily accepted or followed by those who are impacted by the decision. Now we're going to break into groups and discuss the following question. Identify the major conflicting values for each case, and then describe how the judicial functions played a role in the verdict. Key terms you'll be using in your discussion include values, legalization, regulation, substantive rights, and due process in schooling. You will have 10 minutes to speak in your groups, and then a representative from your group will share with the class. Next, we are going to briefly review the differences between traditional legislation versus reform legislation. As you can see, traditional legislation looks at history to inform the solution or decision, provides decisions based on one clearly defined violation, and usually involves a judge who is passive and nonpartisan in that manner. On the other hand, reform legislation, which includes public law, litigation, and legislation, involves looking at the future to inform solutions or decisions. It includes a solution that can be modifiable, and the judge and legislatures are partisan or policy advocates. They are both similar in that they use the idea of ambiguity. This transition in legislation from traditional to reform litigation reminds me of the superintendent's role as moving towards a more political role that involves multiple players and solutions. As a takeaway from our discussion today, we have a better understanding of the judicial system's role in education and how they can serve as change agents for policy innovation. I wanted to leave you with a quote that sums up the main ideas of this section. The judiciary can create a national dialogue, where the unthinkable of yesterday becomes the convention of today. And as participants in the EDD program, as Dr. Berlinger stated on Monday, we're all here because we want to make a meaningful change in education. And so now we have another tool that we can use to help make that happen. Thank you.